A pastor by the name of Michael V. Williams has outlined a plan to punish the gays. Yes, Pastor Williams has grown tired of all the tolerance us straight people have shown lately towards the LGBT community. But don't worry, he has a plan.
It's time for Christians to resume obeying God and His Word, and to recriminalize homosexuality. Outlaw it again. The only way to do this and keep it beyond the reach of activist judges and unaccountable bureaucrats is to create a constitutional amendment such as this. Proposed Amendment 1. The United States of America is a Christian nation with Judeo-Christian ethics, morals, principles, and values. 2. The practice of homosexuality in the United States of America and in all its territories and possessions, and in all its states, counties, and cities, shall be a felony, punishable by 10 years in prison at hard labor. 3. This amendment shall take effect the first Sunday after ratification.
Well, no. A constitutional amendment. Yes, a constitutional amendment. You know, the whole idea of the Constitution actually giving people rights? No, we don't need that. Toss that out the window, and let's put the gays in labor camps. Yes. You know, I think you might be missing the whole idea of equal protection under the law, not to mention the separation of church and state, among many other things. But, guys, let's get your opinion on this.
Hardy, fuck you, buddy. No. I happen to be a straight man, and I think the idea of throwing someone into prison for 10 years hard labor for being who they fucking are is the most horrendous thing you can do. That is almost as bad as trying to advocate for slavery. Almost. Except it's more like advocating for indentured servitude, because at least at the end of the day they can leave, except of course because they're gay. Oh look, back to prison you go for another 10 years, obviously. So it's like perpetual on and off slavery with brief breaks during which time they're terrified of going back. It's like...
corporations would love that, right?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Dan?
This week in stupid. I'm glad we found the candidate. Okay, this is the thing about. I've told you this. I think this is. I'm starting to sound like a broken record on the show, and I come on. But listen, with the baby boomers dying out, combined with the idea of the fact that there's, as I've said, the great Chris Rock line of white people are getting less crazy, except for this guy. The overall problem that we have is people are going to come up. They're losing their old school, like what they think America was, what they've dreamed up in their head. The idea that there was no gay people until disco, like just these crazy ideas that they have. It's just sad. It's pathetic, and you're going to see so much more of this as the legitimate people like Mike Huckabee of the world give these guys a space in the public sphere almost to talk. I mean, this guy's a fringe guy that the internet likes to beat around for clickbait, but there's real people in office that are projecting these views as kind of okay. The idea that we were a Christian nation. Well, you're not really. We were, what about making gays illegal? Because they see where things are going. They see that they're losing their culture war. And they've lost in so many different areas, and they're just clinging, right? You had the same kind of, we had the internet back once civil rights were, going in the right direction in the late 60s. You would see the same nutty people spewing the same nutty stuff, because you do see that in 2014. It's just guys just like, we don't like Obama's fiscal policy, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And so, these are the things that are going to happen. You're going to watch all this transpire over the next decade of as they lose one state and another state, and we all realize that, hey, maybe people who love each other are equal across the board. What a kooky concept. So yeah, you know what? Have at it. Have your blogs. Have your hate-filled nonsense, because you're losing. You're going to lose, and it's just sad to watch them all to squawk at nothing. And it's what's really sad about this though is that I think what's really important is to vote out and to make sure the voices that are legitimate in your local offices, like here in Canada, Rob Ford is homophobic. So yeah, we talk so much about his crack use and him running his junk into fire hydrants for all of our amusement, but it's a homophobic man, and it's a serious problem. And we used to talk about Rob Ford long before you Americans ever found out about him, and said, people would say to me, why do you have a problem with Rob Ford? It was sort of like they're trying to bait me into being a downtown elitist, this sort of like narrative we have in Toronto. And I always used to say, why isn't being homophobic enough? Like, why isn't that, like, shouldn't that just be enough? Like, if you said to somebody, this candidate is racist, you wouldn't want to vote for him. Yet we haven't got there in society yet where the homophobia thing isn't just like an automatic, you're off my list. And that's where you need to get to, because more and more that these people can't get elected, these people that can't spew homophobia or anti-gay rhetoric, the less that these guys on the fringes get any kind of ink at all.
Yeah, Dan has actually mentioned something that I remember it was an old Facebook post. It came out around the 2012 election. And I thought it was excellent. It basically said, if you're going to vote for someone but you're not concerned about their anti-gay stance, fine. Then stand up, tell me straight to my face, my values, and I care more about my values in this than your right to actually have the same liberties as I do. Tell me that to my face, and I think that's a great point, and it was an excellent little thing. And I think when you frame the rhetoric that way, or when you have that trans woman who said, the guy was talking about how they should go back to biblical law, and she said, I have the stone here. You want to go back to biblical law? You can cast the first one. Go ahead, throw it at me. And the guy completely backed down and removed his proposed legislation. I mean, they're absolutely losing the war. Think about how many states have moved and legalized gay marriage this year alone. Looking up here, I was baffled by it. I was wondering what the hell is happening. Why are all of a sudden state after state after state after state after state are now just legalizing it in like very rapid succession? I couldn't believe it. So they're losing it, and they're losing it quickly, because more and more people are realizing, and more education is coming out, and people are realizing, wait a minute, this isn't a choice, nor does it concern me. And honestly, I think a little bit of, God, this sounds pretentious to say it, I think a tiny smidge of biblical knowledge, perhaps tossed out from secularists or atheists or whoever the hell you want to be, has seeped in too, where they say, actually, if you read this passage, there's a lot of other stuff that you're doing on a daily basis that is condemned with the same punishments that you frequently cite, i.e. the Leviticus trap, which I love so much. So, like, they have no arguments for this. So then you get nuts like this coming up with the most insane excuse, seeing if he can get support that way, thinking that, oh, this will work, of course, because obviously Americans agree with me. No, they don't. They really don't. Most of your country disagrees with you. Yeah. Move on. You've lost.
They come up with these ridiculous arguments, and they, of course, use terrible green screen as well. Like, we have no budget here. Even our green screen is better. Seriously. Dude, you gotta up your game. Bad green screen and bad PowerPoint presentations, that's all they have left. If that doesn't show how done your movement is, I don't know what does.
Just one more thing that I do think is sort of scary, which is there are actually an alarmingly high amount of sodomy laws still on the books, and laws that are like based on, anti-gay thoughts and feelings. So like that's also scary. Like, it's like the idea that he thinks he's really losing. Listen, I'm really happy with the progress being made, and that we're finally getting to a less crazy place where we realize everyone should be treated equal, but we're not there yet by any means. So this idea that like that guy still like thinks he's like really losing everything, needs to look at some of the laws around the country and realize that
when you look at some of those laws, you look at Lawrence v. Texas, which nullified a lot of those laws. Yeah, right. Technically they might still be on the books, but if you try to enforce that, you're going to get the Supreme Court shoved up your ass.
It's a really bad choice of words, but I think that it's really, what I'm trying to say is the fact that they're still on there, it just sort of exemplifies what this guy's doing. It's sort of going back to the earlier conversation we had about what they're really angry about with immigration, and it's not really about what about the money or what about this, that, or the other, because they clearly don't have a problem spending $600 billion to form the world's largest border wall. So it's obviously not a money problem. And it's like, what's really at the heart of this matter? And this goes back to this too. You're already on the books. Like, you know, they were already on the books. They were there for a long time. It's obviously not a law thing. You are a bigot. Like, you're just flat out a bigot. And I think that that's where, as Nick and I both have said previously, it's about getting out the response, like what's the best word I can come up with for these people besides just bigot? But essentially, it's about getting rid of the politicians who are the respectable bigots, the ones that people think they can vote for because he's an upstanding citizen. You're not an upstanding citizen if you think part of the population shouldn't have the right to be married. That should be part of the definition of what we want in politicians.